degree of sound that sits at the lower boundary of human hearing. The research on this range of frequencies is genuinely strange. In the 1980s, the French acoustic scientist Igor Reznikov began documenting that the deepest chambers in Paleolithic cave sites, the ones containing the most elaborate paintings, consistently produced resonance frequencies clustered around 110 Hz. He proposed that these locations were selected partly for their acoustic properties, that human communities across deep time had been drawn to specific low frequencies in ways that contemporary science is only beginning to quantify. Later studies using neuroimaging confirm that sustained exposure to frequencies around 110 Hz produces measurable shifts in activity between the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, the parts of the brain associated respectively with analytical reasoning and emotional response. At 110 Hz sustained, the amygdala quiets, the analytical centers activate. This is what a cathedral full of ringing bells actually did to the people inside it, and to a significant extent to the people in the surrounding town. It was not merely symbolic or devotional. It was a neuroacoustic event with documentable physiological effects on group cognition, social cohesion, and the economists will object to this framing, but the data supports it, or cooperative economic behavior. Communities that rang their bells regularly demonstrably organized collective labor projects more efficiently. Market days that began with bell ringing produced measurably higher transaction volumes in the medieval records that survive. So what happens when you remove this infrastructure? You get the modern regulatory situation, which is the part of this story that nobody tells. In 1958, the International Telecommunication Union revised its radio regulations to include formal allocations for the low-frequency spectrum.
Now just listen to what he said. when they go into the church, because that's where it was, the acoustic sound was in the church, and these church was built exactly for the bell, so they can ring the bell. That's why that song is so popular now, "Ring My Bell." I heard some people saying that it will, manifest some good things if you listen to that song and just listen to the sounds. And I believe it, because what I have discovered about these bells and these old churches, so-called churches, I believe it. And I believe that we have vitality, we have frequency, and we have energy. So by them saying that these people, when the bells was rung in a community, it uplifted them, motivated them. Even in the marketplace, when they went to the marketplace, they was more productive and more keen to buy things than if the bell didn't ring. They was humbler. They was unified. Because they already knew that they was one and only one source run through them. And that source regulated and helped them improve a living quality in their communities around the world. This is not just in Europe and Asia and in South, it's around the world. I have traveled to many countries. I done been to China, I done been to Korea, Taiwan, Cambodia, Germany, Belgium. I done been to South America, all over. And I'm telling you, these cathedrals existed everywhere, because some of them are still standing. And it's some right here in America still standing. And this is why I'm making these videos, to make you aware that these places is not fictitious. It is real. This is how they lived. Under certain frequency, they said that plant life even grew bigger and more beautiful. Because it's energy. We in the energy world. We are energy. This world is made of energy all around us, molecule after molecule. And we have to understand that. And when we are in ignorance of our surroundings, we hurt our own selves. And the whole thing is to know thyself. That's the first thing. I know there's many channels that you're going to watch, and I know many people going to give you information. But I'm giving you this information. Know thyself. Study yourself. Dr. John Henry Clark said, I was looking at him one year, this is years ago. He said he went to his mentor and asked his mentor to teach him about his enemies. His mentor said, no, no. I'm going to teach you about yourself first. And then I'll teach you about your enemies. This is a philosophy and a truth and facts. Once you understand your greatness within, no matter what nobody say without, no matter how people look at you in the marketplace, no matter where you go, what you doing, when you know it within, that is glory. That is victory. Because so within, so without. So what I'm saying is, your manifestations are all times. They are all times. There's never stopping. But it's what you manifesting. If you blocking your own success, because we hinder our own success because of these things they did, that they took away from us. We don't know ourselves. And the reason why I'm saying that, you can go all over the globe. You can listen to YouTube channel after YouTube channel. And they can tell you this and they can tell you that. But until you find YouTube channels that's telling you how to go within yourself and love yourself, and then use the tools on the outside to better enhance yourself, because it's two works you got to do. It's an inner work you got to do and an outer work you got to do. And the outer work, these bells was helping the physical body, okay? What we call the physical body. It was helping the nervous system. See, these are the things that we got to learn in order to tap into the greatness and the goodness that's already here in our presence. Meditation. Know thyself. And once these people took the bells, listen to what he said. It's like it just messed them up.
30 to 300 hertz range. Simultaneously, the post-war rebuilding of European cities introduced the first systematic urban noise ordinances. In West Germany, the 1959 Federal Emission Control Framework, which would become the basis for modern German noise law, established limits on sustained low-frequency sound emissions from all sources. In practice,
Look, they took the bells and said, listen, we're going to pass a law that you can't feel good no more, not using sound, not using bells or flutes or bowls or things that make a sound with a high frequency. They took it out of play because the old world was being bombarded and took over by the new world. The old world was peace, love, unity, everything that they hate. The old world was producing. So they said, no, no, that time is gone. We coming with a new world order. See, people think the new world order, and I done told people over and over, the new world order been started. It been started. It been driving you out of your mind. It been pulling you away from the divine source. That's what people don't realize. That's what Friedrich Nietzsche was talking about. That God is dead. Yeah. When you separate yourself from the source, or somebody separates you from source, that means you finna go out of your mind. And if you out of your mind, not thinking like source, then guess what? When you get so far away from the source, you get delusional. Sound mind. You get to thinking that this system is a marvelous system. It is not. What they did is a planetary takeover and put you in all of us into an amnesia of ignorance. I was listening to a brother say, how do you have to pay for everything and you was born on this planet? Let that soak in. Let it just think about it. You sovereign to this planet. This body was cropped in this planet, in this universe. It will not survive anywhere else. You cannot survive in Mars. You can't survive outside of the dome. This body was made and produced only for this sovereign planet. And everything in it is for you to strive to your higher self. And when you get broke down, you're supposed to have a place where you can go. You're supposed to have a place you can go. And back then there was the churches, where the bells, the hospitals. And it wasn't, now here's the beautiful thing, it wasn't that many of them. Across the world, it'd be probably a couple million. Why? Because people stayed healthy. They ate right. They drank the water that was charged. Listen. And do your homework. Years ago, Will Smith played in a movie called The Pursuit of Happiness. Listen, pursuit of happiness. Because when you get a feeling of happiness, when you happy on the inside, success follows, prosperity follows, love follows. You can't magnetize anything if you sad, you wore out. I don't like this. I ain't gonna do that. You can't magnetize the greatness because the system is set up for you to have a divine experience of joy in a blissful state. But by them changing the world order and bringing you to a lesser state, your happiness is devoured, and then they start pulling you into things outside of yourself that you think, and they train you to think this, that it make you happy. There's only one thing can make you happy, and that's the source. And then you, by being close to the source, you adapt to the ways of the source. And the source ain't gone nowhere. Because if it was gone, guess what? We wouldn't even be having this conversation. None of us. When the source leave, it's a wrap. When your true self leave that body, this body is going to fall to the ground. It's going to fall to the ground. And ain't nothing nobody can do about it. In order to have longevity, they kept the bells in the church. Okay? In order, when the body start degrading and feeling and falling weak, and they go carry her to the church. Ring them bells. You can ring my bell. And the people was in there ringing the bell. Ding, ding. Why? the acoustics in there was so dynamic and so healing for the body. You just added 15 years to that lady life. Listen, the energy, the divine light within you cannot stay in a weak vessel for 300 years. You got to renew the vessel. You got to keep that vessel to a certain level. These people understood that. That was probably passed down from generation to generation. But then what they did, they took the bells out, made laws that you cannot use these bells. They took the water fountains away. Say you cannot drink this old good water because it's going to keep you healthy. Okay? And when your time to pay, you going to have to pay because now usurer don't came in. Usurer is when somebody come and buy some or get a credit from you and you add payback. So say if they come and get $10 from you, you charge them $13. That's usurer. Okay? That came into play. See, back in then, if you came and got $10, then $10, that's what you paid back. Because they was not chasing the money. So all what happened when the New World Order came in, they made us chase money. They took us away from the divine. They took us away from the healing process to make this body be strong enough to go to the duration where the soul within you can develop into a full-blown spiritual body. It had to be some wicked people, boy, who came up with this plot. This was like a spiritual incubator. That's what Earth is. It was like for you to come here and find yourself within yourself and start doing the things and nurturing and taking care of the self. And as it grow into a spiritual body. That's what it was supposed to be. And they was doing it. They was doing it all over. Everywhere. And I know people were going to say, well, how they was, yes, that's what we supposed to do. Every spiritual guru will tell you, guess what? You ain't the body. It's like building a driveway, okay? Better yet, let's build a pillow for your porch, okay? You make a cast of steel, okay? Then you pour cement into the cast. And then when the cement hardens, you take the steel off or the metal off, and now you got a cemented post. The body is the same way. We supposed to come here, use the body as the divine pour into us and build this spiritual man up in us. And then when it grow to, you might live 300 years. We don't know. But when that time is up, that spiritual man has grew to a full-blown divine source. And it peel up out of this body. That's the way it's supposed to be. And these people knew that it was certain things that we had to do in order for the body to keep going. You just think how fragile this body is if you don't take care of it properly. And then guess what? They took all that out of play. They took the banking system, flipped it around. Now you're chasing money. They had a beautiful system, financial system. They taught you a trade, and you was an apprentice, worked on the people. You see how all these marvelous old world buildings took years to do them buildings, man. All these statues all over the world, around the world. Beautiful sculptures. They understood the universe by understanding themselves. It was like a mirror. They was looking into a mirror. We no longer look into the mirror. That's why I tell you, know thyself. I don't care what happened in your life. You already done overcame. But what we need to do is start understanding how to develop this spiritual man. Let the spiritual man grow. Now manifestation's gonna come. Listen, the universe know exactly what you need, when you need it, how you need it. You're gonna get that. You're gonna get it. Why? You love yourself. Because it's yourself that is giving you everything that you ask for. You just got to know. They took you away from that knowledge. And that's what's messing them up. See, y'all running around scared, but they projecting this on us. Because they scared than we are. Because it's more than us. more of us than them. See, ain't no use to being scared. Ain't no use to being afraid. They feed off your fear. They feed off your doubts. They feed off your ignorance. They feed off of that. Just stand your ground. You sovereign. I don't care what land you came from. That's another thing. They put us against each other by giving one people the Bible, the other half the Quran. See, that's what the real joint jumped off at. Because all them holy wars and all this right here was just divide and conquer. They were playing both sides. You know, Napoleon Wars, World War I, World War II, the Civil Wars. They financed both sides of them to take you out of your right place. If you was nurtured of humbling yourself and praying and meditating and being kind, what is the opposite of being kind? Being mean. So what mean people do? Go to war. Fight. And we've been fighting ever since. This country can't get along with this country. This world can't get along with it. Chaos, bro. That's why you see this picture behind me. Normally they be sitting on a lotus flower. But that was cool. I liked it. And the lotus flower represented eternal bliss. For lack of word, you made it. What the Bible say, I have overcome. That's what it is. Because the lotus flower can only grow in murky water. Water that is very stagnant. That's what this is. Earth is. They created it like that. They made it this way. It used to be a utopia. They had airways where they could fly all over. See, they ain't gonna tell you that. These folks been flying way before the Wrights brothers. See, they'll have you thinking that you just came into some knowledge and everything is old. How we live is primitive. Let me go back to the sound. The sound, natural. When you wake up in the morning, let me show you how divine the laws of this universe is. When you wake up in the morning, open your window, I guarantee you're going to hear some birds. These birds, you think just out there chirping, just the chirp, because that's what they nature tell them to do. No, them birds is for you. Them birds is for you. Bob Marley said with 3 little birds by my window. Told me everything gonna be all right. Listen, the chirping of the birds help you start your day by lining your nervous system up. Just sit still and listen. Nature is here to help you develop to who you truly are. So now, these people that have automobiles like what we got, they had electric automobiles. Tesla ain't just started. This stuff been happening. They taking old patterns and making them feel like, oh, they dumb. So guess what? We'll tell them it's new. We just invented it. And we'll make Teslas and we'll make this and that and all of this. And that stuff been around. They just had to find a way to monetize it, to make you work for it. That's why they take all of the things that will bring you up above or shift you to the fourth dimension. That's the war. When you can see past the third dimension and see over to the fourth, boy, you own it. But you got to raise your frequency. You got to raise your vibration. Your energy got to be one with the divine to go to the next door or to the next level, however you want to put it. They know this. The war is to keep your frequency low as they can keep it. And they can feast off you. You run you to the ground till you about 60, 75. That's it. That's it. You ain't got no more. Why? Because they took the thing. When you get 60 years old, you're supposed to be able to go to that church and sit down in them. Let's listen to this. And sit down in them and be able to rejuvenate your body. It wasn't all about your soul, but it was about your body. Because when you have your nervous system in harmony with all your organs, all your internal things, information from the nervous system gonna run smoother. They took that.
These limits made the traditional ringing patterns of large church bells, not a single toll, but the sustained overlapping ring of multiple bells for 30 minutes or more, which was the functional form that organized pre-industrial community time, legally problematic in residential areas. The Netherlands, Belgium, and France introduced similar frameworks through the 1960s and 1970s. By 1980, the acoustic event that had organized European community life for 8 centuries was, in its full traditional form, illegal in most of the jurisdictions where it had once been mandatory. This is not a conspiracy. It is something more interesting than a conspiracy. It is the convergence of genuinely separate regulatory streams, telecommunications law, urban planning, public health acoustics, that collectively produced an outcome that looks, from the revisionist economic perspective, like the completion of a process begun when Napoleon melted his first church bell in 1790.
Now, this picture that I got up in there. Now, look at how that building is structured. And they don't look like they the ones that built it anyway, but just look at that thing. Look at how the columns are formed. These things was holding sound. They was holding sound. And all it took was the bell. Bang. I remember, I don't know how many people that watch this video don't know this, but I remember when I was a young boy, they had this round bell, and on the side of it, it was like a little ball on it with a handle, and when we changed classes, it'll hit that bell, boy, you can hear it loud, and everybody was moving. Gotta move. Ain't no sitting down. It's when you hear that bell, you Johnny on the spot. They use the bells in schools, in churches, in hospitals. I mean, it's amazing that this information was hidden until now. I mean, you just think about it. I've been looking at the old world, mud floods, and then I start, when I go to cities, I start going to the capitals. And one of the most beautiful ones is in West Virginia. West Virginia got a gold dome on now. And that thing is so beautiful from the road. Now, I didn't go in the building. And Georgia Dome from 75, you can see it good too. I mean, these domes, you can't tell me that our civilization made that, because if we did, we'd have more domes everywhere. You go out there in Iowa. Now, Iowa got a gold dome, and I'm telling you, it's something godly about that structure. The way they got it on a mound like. And if you go to all these little cities in this country, you will see these buildings. They've been repurposed for our civilization. But these was healing centers. I'm telling you, I seen it for myself. And these things is sad, man, that you got to bind a man up this bad. But the beautiful thing is, you might not know yourself, but you can get to know yourself. Just sit still. The Bible say, be still and know that I am God. Be still. Stop running, doing this and doing that. Sit down. In your morning hour when you wake up, open that window, listen to them birds, sit still, close your eyes. Don't do nothing. Don't look at that phone. Get yourself together. Because everybody get together on one accord. We can change it back to a utopia for our babies. You ain't gonna carry none of this money with you. Listen, Alexander the Great. I'm gonna say Alexander the Greek. He said this just the plain. He was on his dying bed. And he told them, he said, listen, when I die, I want y'all to have all the physicians that you can muster up follow us behind my coffin. He say all the land, juries, and monies and trinkets that I have valued, I want you to just lay them out beside my burial ground. And I want you to build a coffin with 2 holes in it and stick my arms out. And they said, why would you want that? He said, I want everybody to know that no matter how great a doctor is and how many it is, they cannot sustain your life forever. That's the first thing. The second thing, I want everybody to know that all the wealth you accumulate, all this stuff you accumulate in this world, you can't take none with you, because my hands are empty. That's what I want you to know. The only thing you're going to take is your experience, your knowledge, your intuition. And that's what you should be seeking. And the universe will take care of the rest of it. Let's go to this. Yeah.
1987. The pre-industrial acoustic commons, the one whose capital was stored in bronze and whose returns were measured in synchronized labor and cooperative exchange, had been physically destroyed in the two world wars. Now the legal framework that might have allowed its reconstruction was removed as well. The frequencies it operated on were reassigned, the patterns it produced were reclassified as noise. What filled the gap was not silence. It was the clock on the factory wall, then the clock on the radio broadcast, then the synchronized time signal transmitted via satellite. The coordination function that the bells had performed was not eliminated. It was privatized, centralized, and embedded in infrastructure that communities did not own and could not cast for themselves from surplus. Bronze. The million bells that were melted during the 20th century's wars are usually counted as cultural losses. They were also something more precise than that. They were the physical liquidation of the last large-scale distributed monetary and acoustic infrastructure that European communities had operated outside the framework of the centralized state and the central bank. The metal was redistributed upward, the frequencies were regulated away, and the communities that had accumulated that bronze over 800 years received in exchange currency that a distant institution could debase at will. The Tsar bell, the one in Moscow, was never rung. It cracked during casting in 1737 and has sat in the Kremlin as an artifact ever since. It weighs 216 tons. Its copper and tin were assembled from the melted remains of 3 previous bells destroyed by fire. It is the largest bell ever cast, and it has never produced a single note. There is a version of this story in which that is simply a historical accident. There is another version in which it is the most efficient possible symbol for what happened to the acoustic economy of the commons, assembled, preserved, displayed, never allowed to function, and surrounded by walls.
Now, in this still that I got up, I just want you to take a look at all these lines in that still. I mean, and look at the buildings. Look at the buildings and look at the horses and carriages that is on the street. See, what we ain't paying attention to is these people that's on this screen, they didn't build them buildings. You ain't finna build no buildings with no horse and carriages. It was an advanced civilization came before these people. And that's what they don't want to tell you. That these lines and telephone poles, that is power going through them poles. Look at all them poles on that street. And look how them buildings is brick and they got horses and buggies. Look at it. I'm finna show you. Look at it. So my point is this. The civilization that we under, they flipped the script on us. These things was already here. Did we inherit this power and they didn't want to let us know about it? Or they say we built this in the 1800s and we forgot we built them? I don't get it. That's a question. Did we forget? Then all of a sudden the whole world had amnesia? But the few? No. This place is not what we think it is. We ain't what we think we is. And that's what we got to wake up to. This greatness that is within us is connected to the whole divine universe. We all are connected. Some way, how. We are connected. Why? Because all us reincarnated lights. The same light. But they made us forget. I got one more to show y'all. And this thing is like, when you sit and just listen to how they played us and played our ancestors, it just kind of like make you want to just be angry, but it
hospital was, in many documented cases, an environmental machine. A building designed to produce specific conditions, light, airflow, acoustic resonance, spatial proportion, that were understood to support recovery. The patient moved through the building. The building worked on the patient. The treatment was, in a meaningful sense, architectural. The post-1900 hospital.
Listen, they have designed the buildings in such a way that it corresponds to the human anatomy, the frequency and the vibration and the energy and the acoustic sound that was going through these hospitals. They talking about hospitals here. The other one was talking about churches, but they talking about hospital on this one. And this thing was ringing the bells in this hospital. It was designed to resonate and correspond to the human anatomy. It didn't matter what was wrong with you. If it was a psychological problem or a physical problem or a spiritual problem, this thing was set up for you to walk in there, sit down, and just let the vibration do what it do. And they might give you some kind of little tea, a little herb, you know what I mean? They might hook you up a little bit, but it was all about the sound, the frequency. That's why Nikola Tesla was in this era. And people don't realize that that's why he was saying that we need to understand this universe as energy, frequency, and vibration. That man went on his dying bed from day one. It's been documented from day one. This man, when he figured this 369 out, from day one, that's all he was talking about: energy, frequency, and vibration. And he did some magical, wonderful things with it. But they took it from him. And then, you know the rest. But the whole thing is, it's still here. It ain't going nowhere. And the reason I can prove that, I can prove that that same frequency, that same energy that same vibration is still here. Because he said, I'm the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. It's still here. But if you don't have the knowledge to tap into it, or the wisdom, or the understanding to tap into it, you can't use it. Because it's still here. And those that do use it, I guarantee you, a lot of people be saying like, it's some non-player characters. No, I think they humanoids. I think they like us, but I think they tapped into the what you call their frequency. And they start using the frequency. And on the elite can use this frequency. Only the tools that they got to make these bodies last longer than the average person. Because in the Bible, it even tell you that God said, listen, I want you, man will live 120 years. That was part of my first sermon when I was a Christian teaching. 120 years. That's a long time. Well, this energy vibrates at a high frequency, so the body got to be able to maintain that vibration and the frequency and the energy for 120 years. So you're going to need some kind of mechanism or something to make this body be able to handle that frequency while you're on this planet. And you can't go back in your mom's and be born again that way. You got to be born again a whole nother way, baptized into the water of frequency. Spirit. That's what they talking about. They really talking about energy. Let's check it out.
Is a delivery mechanism, a controlled environment designed to administer specific substances, pharmaceutical compounds to specific bodies at specific intervals. The building is neutral. The drug is active. This is not a subtle philosophical difference. It is a complete inversion of the therapeutic model. And here's the strangest part. The substances introduced through this new system were not all what they claimed to be. Heroin, notorious for its addictive properties, was marketed by Bayer.
If you got 15 hours a week back, what would you do with it?
Say, I do a lot of things that I've been doing.
Yeah, we're going to get off that one a little bit.
Legally as a cough suppressant for younger patients from 1898
You get the point. What I'm trying to say is these things are already here. Probably got some of the stuff right at your house, what you need. But we just got to tap into it because it's here. I'm telling you. I believe in meditation. I do meditation every day. Every day. I believe it. I know that there's another side to this story. There's two sides to every coin. Every coin. Every dollar bill you ever have is two sides to it. And they're not identical. But they're the same. Because they're on the same bill. And that's what people got to remember. It's a light in you so bright that it scares them people. The people that oppress this light within you, the intelligence, the intellect, the intuitiveness, the curiosity, the wisdom. Your muscles hold memory. Your subconscious mind never forgets. And you always aware. You are pure light, pure consciousness. And they know it. And they know your capabilities. And they made you forget yours. They made you forget. But the awakening is happening. They can't stop the awakening. They can't control the awakening. Just like they might can tamper with the rain every now and then. They might can do a hurricane. They might can do a tornado. They might can do a lot of things. But things you cannot see, you can't control it. And they know that. They trying their best to keep the herd. But guess what? It's too vast. Inexhaustible. This spirit we dealing with is the creative force of all things. And it ain't going to stop because they want it to stop. And it ain't going to stop because they kept it from us. It manifests for us every day. We just don't manifest as abundantly as we would like to because we're not, some people just ain't aware of it. And those that is aware of it, they're afraid to tell. But I ain't. It's good. I'm like Jesus. Whatever you do to this body, I rise in 3 days. It don't matter to me no more. It used to. But the whole thing is, if I wake up people while I'm here, that's the mission. If I help people while I'm here, that's the mission. Nothing else. I don't care what else happens. Because I know one thing. That light in me, that higher self, that higher power in me, gonna take care of me. This physical body. It's gonna take care of it. So we all got to know that and walk in that light. We got to walk in it. We play this little portion right here.
The early 20th century. This is not contested history. It is documented. Cocaine, a now controlled stimulant, was widely prescribed and commercially distributed in medical contexts throughout the transition period. Radium compounds were sold to the public as health tonics into the 1930s, with institutional endorsement. Tobacco was recommended by physicians as a treatment for respiratory.
See, now that goes back to my last screen when I was talking about Hermes in the Caduceus. These folks understood the science. They understood the science and the wisdom and how that we can live longer and better. They understood it and they tapped into it. Until the new regime came in. And this is what's baffling to me is it was worldwide orchestrated. It was like for 800 years, the Moors was occupied. Yeah, it was 800 years, about 800 years. The Moors was occupying Spain. All of a sudden, Christianity came along and they started a war again, and they had to come up out of there in 1492. And that was the same year Christopher Columbus came towards America. All this thing was going worldwide. The deception was going worldwide. France and Belgium and Russia and all them was going down to Africa. At this time, Napoleon, Buck Wild. It was a regime takeover. And they gave us 2 books out of there, out of this worldwide spread of ignorance, Christianity and Islam. And I ain't gonna say it's full ignorant. What I'm saying is that it took our awareness and throwed our awareness out the window. Now we're looking at the book instead of looking within. That's all I'm saying. Because both books got good information. All things got knowledge in it. But my thing is, when you start reading your inner self, that's where the problem is. There's no healing without you, outside of yourself, unless it's something resonating on the inside of you to that which is outside of you, if that makes sense. Let me finish this.
Conditions, lobotomies were awarded a Nobel Prize. The evidence suggests something much larger than individual errors in medical judgment. What was built was a system designed not around the recovery of the patient as its primary output, but around the administration of regulated, commercially produced, institutionally endorsed substances as its primary mechanism. And because the system was global, because the coordination had happened, there was, by the early 20th century, no alternative infrastructure to turn to. The old buildings were gone. The old practices had no institutional home. The knowledge was scattered, undocumented, held only by individuals who had no professional standing in the new order. This raises a question I cannot answer but cannot stop asking. Was this the point? And now we arrive at the territory that most researchers avoid, the territory where the evidence becomes harder to verify, where the claims become more contested, where the official response shifts from dismissal to something that feels, in its uniformity, almost like discomfort. Tartaria. I am not going to tell you that Tartaria was a specific civilization with a capital city and a flag. I am not going to make that claim. What I am going to do is ask you.
Yeah. And so the whole thing is what you got to remember. Know thyself. Love thyself.
Ask you to consider a set of observations.
And be true to thyself. Because the way this thing has been set up is to keep us outside and not go in. There's a lot of people miss blessings, miss things that they should have because they so far away of their conscious self, their real self. And it only can program what you feed it. If your conscious has been hijacked and you got to look at this cell phone all day and this all day and music, this kind of music and dealing with vibrations, it's going to keep you away from your true self. Be still and know that I am God. And that's what I tell people. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to say know thyself, love thyself, and be true to thyself. And always look for the infinite possibility. Because there's always a way when you think it ain't no way. Peace and one love.